Jerry Girley, you worked with the Atlanta Police Department, obviously, and you worked on excessive use of force, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually,
and with Atlanta, I think I heard a couple things in here that may be important. You tell me if I'm wrong and tell the viewers why they may be important. The first thing is that this officer never shot, and the prosecution asked him, why didn't you shoot? And there was an objection from the defense attorney, and the judge allowed him to answer. Why is that important?
Well, again, the defense's theory is that this officer, that is Jason Van Dyke, perceived a threat, and so therefore it was necessary. The issue with that explanation is that you have the other officer here who's testifying now says that he followed.
But let me. Didn't he also say there was no direct? He didn't shoot because there was no direct movement of me. Doesn't that give Laquan McDonald or Jason Van Dyke a defense?
It gives, does not give Jason Van Dyke a defense, because what it shows in my thinking is that Laquan McDonald had no intentions of acting in a violent manner toward the police officers that were on the scene. He was moving away from them at all times. It actually bolsters the state's position that he was not a threat at the time that Jason Van Dyke shot him 16 times.
And this is all very important because the defense here in this trial, if they can show that the police officer had a reasonable belief that his life was in danger or another police officer's life was in danger, had a right to use deadly force. We're going to hear more about this trial when we come back. Let's go into the trial. First, I think we're going to go to a break, correct? We're in this very important trial where Jason Van Dyke, who's a police officer in Chicago, is being charged with the murder of 17-year-old Laquan McDonald. And the officer on the stand right now is Joseph McElligott. And what he's been telling the jury is pointing to the slashes that Laquan made with the small knife that he was carrying on both the officers on a car, an officer's car, and the windshield. And this officer, McElligott, followed him. He didn't feel a threat to his safety, and that's why he's testifying. And you can see he's very, very nervous. See, you can see on his head, he's sweating on his head, he's tense. I mean, and unlike me, he doesn't have a powder puff to take away his sweat. And he's nervous because he's testifying against a fellow officer, or he thinks that he will be perceived as that. Really, what he's just testifying as to what he saw, what he did, and why he didn't shoot Laquan Davis. So let's go back into the courtroom, I think, to listen to him. He's still on his direct testimony. This should be a really interesting finishing of direct and of a cross-examination. On the stand is Officer Joseph McElligott. He and his partner, Officer Gaffney, were the first ones to encounter Laquan McDonald after there was a 911 call. Okay, so what he says is very important in the scheme of things. So I'm going to actually bring it, there is going to actually be some testimony from Officer McElligott that we're going to recount for you about, again, his encounter with Laquan McDonald, that Laquan McDonald ran from him, that he wasn't a threat to him, and that Officer McElligott never felt that he was a threat to him. He never charged at him with the knife, although he saw the knife. And Officer McElligott did have his gun drawn. So we're going to go back to court and listen to his final moments of his direct examination. Jerry, you just heard some cross-examination, right, of another police officer by the defense attorney for Jason Van Dyke, right? Now, he said to him, he asked him questions, and you tell me why this is relevant. He never walked towards you, but it would be a different situation if he walked towards you. Well, but it depends on what he did when he walked towards you, right? So why is that even a relevant question? Why did the judge allow it?
I think it's relevant in the sense that did he perceive a threat? That's the fundamental question that is at issue here. If, in fact, he perceived a threat, then he was, by law, allowed to do what he needed to do to neutralize.
Yeah, but Jerry, when this officer followed him, correct? He followed him. He's followed the slashing of the tires. He followed him when he stole from the truck. He never threatened to kill anybody. You can't use lethal force unless somebody's life is in danger, correct?
No, absolutely. And so what they're trying to set up is that he didn't use a lethal threat because he didn't perceive it. But what they're trying to get to is these other officers, particularly Jason Van Dyke, at some point, Laquan McDonald turned toward him, and therefore he fired because he did at that moment.
Right, we're going to have to take a break, Jerry. This is such an important case. I can't wait to get back to speak with you. Stay tuned.
Sure.